Climber. You probably already use some great tools to write songs: guitar, piano, computer, digital audio workstation, all that good stuff. But you might be neglecting the most important tool at your disposal, and that is the other part of your brain, your other way of thinking. We're going to talk about that today and how to use your whole brain to maximize your creativity and results. We're going to talk about it today on The Climb. Johnny, do that thing.
Welcome to The Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. It's the only way it's going to happen now is you got to create the leverage so they come to you and then you write your own ticket. That's why we put the show together, because we want you to win. We want to show you how to get that leverage. It's why we called it The Climb. C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's some serious wordsmithing right there from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter, who's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, got Southern gospel hits, got Australian hits, got Texas radio hits. The man is a machine, and you don't care about any of it. Why? Because what you care about is you, and he wants to help you become a pro songwriter by how? Revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and once you get those together, he's going to regularly give you opportunities to make relationships with the pros who can advance your career. And you can find this man very simply at songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. It's complicated, but Johnny is smart. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there's no S because there is no other. Johnny D.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, man. Good to see you again. We're shaking the rust off. Still getting back in the groove from like a month off, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was good, though. I was proud of us. We stacked everything up, didn't miss a beat.
That's right. Really Y'all never even knew I was in Lithuania for like 2 weeks.
I know.
So there we go.
I know.
It's all a blur now. I'm not even sure I was there.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
What are we going to learn today?
Yeah. So today, well, you know, we all use our thinking to create songs, right? But what we might not know is that there are two kinds of thinking. We tend to favor one kind over the other. In fact, we might even disparage the other kind of thinking, like, oh, that's not real songwriting, or that's not real creativity. So today I want to unpack both kinds of thinking and how they are both critical to writing your best songs and getting your best results. So that's the deal.
Nice. All right. I can't wait to get into it. Let's take care of a little business first.
Yes.
Join the C.L.I.M community on Facebook. Just go to Facebook groups and search for the C.L.I.M community, or facebook.com/groups/the C.L.I.M community. Ask to be let in. You have to. And we let everybody in unless you look like you're trying to sell us something, unless you look a little suspect.
That's right.
We will defend it if you try to sell something in there and do something, against we don't have a whole lot of rules, man.
Mm-hmm.
But if you break them, you're out. You'll be roadhoused out. That's all there is to it. And, but hey, this is a great community. It's thriving. It's your peers. This is not who you're going to sell to. This is people who are going to help you find collaborations, find co-writes, find marketing ideas, ask questions, get answers. That's what we want for you in this community. That's what's happening in the community. And we also want to hear about you. Mm-hmm. Hear about your new music every Monday as a comment in the New Music Monday post. We want to hear about your gigs every Thursday as a comment in the Gig Alert post. We want to hear about your wins every Wednesday on the New Heights post, and we celebrate those right here on the pod. Brent, what do we got?
Yes.
What wins are we looking at?
Some of our wins here. Let's see. We have Climber. Let's see. We have Climber Chris Schuyler, I think. Sheeler said, happened back in June, but I got to open for Sponge on a really great stage in Reading, Pennsylvania. They were big when I was learning guitar, so I have fond memories of listening to their album. So he got to open for them. So love that. Love that.
Nice.
Congrats, Chris.
Congratulations.
Yes. And Burdett Music says, I have a pre-saved link for my next song. So Burdett is putting out music. It's called Just Like That by Emily Burdett. So congrats, Emily. She has a link in there, and that's appropriate under the winds because that is the win, having a new release and having it up for pre-save. So congrats, y'all, and keep on climbing.
Yes, it is. All right. So tell me how to think of the other side of my brain. What am I missing?
All right. So the thing is, it's okay to be a song explorer, right? It's okay to not know where you're going when you start your song, or even before you really start your song idea. When you're just sitting there and there's like something that's tickling your brain, and it's vague and it's formless, and that's okay. So we're going to talk about how that is relevant, and then the other side is relevant. But before we go further, I want to define a couple terms, right? They are harebrained and tortoise mind. Now, I've been called harebrained before. This is not exactly that, but harebrained and tortoise mind. These terms come from a book by Guy Claxton called Harebrained, Tortoise Mind. And Claxton submits that there are two different ways of thinking. First up, there's the harebrained, and that involves figuring matters out, weighing up the pros and the cons, constructing arguments, and solving problems. It's like your logical, by the book, by the numbers, that kind of stuff. So examples he includes are like a mechanic working out why an engine won't fire, or a student wrestling with a test question, right? You're methodical, you're working through like, okay, maybe it's the carburetor. No, not that. Let's go over here to the spark plugs. Let's try that. Let's go over here to these fuses. Very like boom, boom, working it out.
Very scientific, yeah.
Yeah, it's a way of knowing that relies on reason and logic, on deliberate conscious thinking. So that's the harebrained. Then there's the tortoise mind. Now, this kind of thinking proceeds more slowly, right? You got the tortoise and the hare. You guys know what I'm doing? The tortoise and the hare. It proceeds more slowly. It's often less purposeful and clear-cut. It's more playful. It's more leisurely or dreamy. Okay. In this mind, we're mulling things over. We're being contemplative or meditative. We're pondering a problem rather than actually like actively trying to solve it. So that's the tortoise and the hare mind. Now, I got those terms, learned about Guy Claxton from this book by John Cleese. And John Cleese up here.
I love John Cleese.
Yes, he wrote a book called Creativity, a Short and Cheerful Guide. And I do want to give a shout out to Climber Sunday Joe Graham for cluing me and Johnny into this book. It was published in 2020, but I didn't know about it till Sunday Joe told me and Johnny about it. And so it's a quick read. I finished it up at the end of my Lithuania trip. So gave me some good stuff to read on the airplane. And thank you, Sunday Joe. So
yeah, thank you, Sunday.
Yes. Anyway, so this book, I recommend it. I just got it on Kindle. It was, not very expensive. It's a quick read. It's easy, and some good stuff in it. So I'm just pulling out one kind of section of it to talk about. I thought was interesting. So in this book, Cleese writes, and so if you don't know who John Cleese is, he's from Monty Python. Yeah. So Monty Python, The Holy Grail, The Life of Brian, their TV show where they did all those skits, The Ministry of Silly Walks, and
so brilliant. Yeah.
So The Fish Called Wanda, if you remember that movie, so much. Anyway, he's awesome. So highly recommend you watch Monty Python, The Holy Grail if you haven't. So anyway, in this book, Cleese, so he's a writer, right? He's a comedy writer, and among other things, I'm sure. But in this book, he writes a word of warning. When we're trying to be creative, there's a real lack of clarity during most of the process. Our rational analytical mind, of course, loves clarity. In fact, it worships clarity. But at the start of the creative process, things cannot be clear. They are bound to be confusing. If it's a new thought, how can you possibly understand it straight away? You've never been there before. It feels unfamiliar. So much of our tortoise mind work takes place in an atmosphere of uncertainty and gentle confusion. And so, Brent, side note here. It was really affirming to read that. When my co-writers and I hit a roadblock on a song and we're not sure where to go or how to overcome it, I'll often say, it's all right. Nobody's ever written this song before. Hey, we're in uncharted territory. We've never written this song before. That's all right. We're figuring it out as we go. So anyway, it made me feel good to read that. I'm like, all right, John Cleese gets it. Yeah, there's a lot of like uncertainty. Why would there not be? It's a new thought. You haven't thought it before. Of course, there's a lot of uncertainty around it, and that's all right. So, and I don't know with that too, you may start off with that vague notion that like, oh, there's something there, some emotion or some feeling that you want to convey, and it doesn't come out fully formed. Now, sometimes they do with song ideas. You may go, you get that burst of inspiration, you get a vision for your song. You're like, oh my gosh. But a lot of times it may just be like, here's a title. I'm not sure what it means, but it tickles my brain in some way. What does it mean? You kind of mull it over. You go on a walk. You just kind of dreamily play some chords and stuff and just kind of see, you're letting your tortoise mind kind of mull it over and kind of work on it a little bit. Your subconscious or your unconscious mind work on that, and which is fine. It's a great way. And a lot of this, what he's talking about is, these are both important, right? So he goes, it's really important that you don't rush. Let these new notions of yours slowly become more clear and clearer and clearer, and real clarity will eventually emerge. And at that point, you'll have a new idea. Now, notice that I didn't say a new good idea. It might be a terrible one. It might be brilliant. So how do you decide which it is? Or rather, in fact, is it a bit of both? Because what you do at that point, when this new idea of yours has become pretty clear, is you bring in your critical, analytical, fact-seeking harebrain to assess it. So here's your harebrain. It's been sitting around twiddling its ears, and it can now hop in and apply its hard-nosed scientific.
Waiting to judge.
It's like, come on. I'm bringing it. I'm bringing that scientific thinking. It's like it's time to gather data. It's time to take measurements. It's time to reach logical conclusions, generally checking out your new idea and seeing if that sucker will actually fly. So you're just ruminating. You got this thing like, oh, I thought of this thing. And you let it become kind of clear enough for or some people might call it the editor, the other analytical mind to come in and go, okay, what do we got here? Let's see if you can fight, right? Now, for commercial songwriters, it might mean asking yourself of this kind of notion, this idea, questions such as, okay, who cares? Who wants to hear this? Does it appeal to a large audience? Does it make sense? Because when I'm showing up to write, I want to write songs that can be commercially successful. Most of the time, I'm not writing for me. I'm writing for the marketplace. I don't want to take my co-writer's time up to write something just to scratch my own little itch, unless I think it's also something that's relevant to a large number of people, right? So that's when you come and go, okay, well, who wants to hear this? Does it apply to a large audience? Does it make sense? Is it logical? Is it inherent, like internally inconsistent and contradictory, in which case it just doesn't make sense? Or does this idea, this hook, does it make me think too much? Is it hooky? Is it too internal? Like it's an inside joke and nobody else on the world is inside that joke except for me? Or would any artist want to say this? Is it too cliche? So there are all those things that then, because I've talked before about the song funnel, right? So I may get an idea. I start with titles. And you kind of start working through, pick a title to work on and start brainstorming, do your personal song title challenge. And you're throwing stuff at the wall and you're starting to just build stuff out and get some ideas for this title. And then you bring in the harebrain, going, okay, what is there anything here I can work with? Is there anything that's good that I want to develop further into a song? And so Cleese goes on to say, it might be an idea with both good bits and not so good bits. If that's the case, once you've decided with your logical mind which parts you want to keep and which you can now get rid of, you can later go back into your creative mind again and build on the good parts. So it's kind of bouncing back and forth, right? He said, for a songwriter, it might mean that your hook and concept is strong, but your verses are way too ethereal or poetic for country music, if you're a country writer. Or that the verses have too much imagery if you want to pitch it to film and TV, because that just doesn't work usually to have a bunch of imagery and something for film and TV, because I don't want the pictures in the lyric competing or contrasting with the pictures on the screen, that kind of stuff. And that's like your harebrain, your logical brain going, okay, I can't talk about all these mountains and stuff because then it can't be in any other scene but that. So that doesn't make sense. You're going down those roads. Or maybe the verse takes a full minute to get to the chorus. Well, that needs to be trimmed down, right? Or there's a line that says, I wet the bed till I was 19. And Luke Combs ain't singing that. Right? Yeah. There might be some lines in there. You're like, okay, that's never going to get cut if I say that, I used to beat my mom. What? That kind of thing. It's like, okay, well, maybe that needs to be massaged a little bit. So that's when you kind of going back and forth, and so you're getting these notions, and then you apply logic, and then you go back and do it again, and kind of back and forth. And then go back to Cleese's quote from the book. He said, "It is, however, very important that when you first have a new idea, you don't get too critical too soon. Like these new," and he calls them woolly ideas, "shouldn't be attacked by your logical brain until they've had time to grow, to become more clear and sturdy." So new ideas are kind of like small creatures. They are easily strangled.
I like that.
Yeah. So exercise patience until you have a clear sense of what it is that you've come up with. And then you can bring your critical thinking in, but not before, right? It's like shooting stuff down. And this happens in the co-write room, just a little bit by necessity when you're throwing out lots of ideas and you're trying to find something to write on. Then we're much more critical up front of things that don't just grab us right away. You'd be like, I don't know. And you may bring some of those ideas into several writing rooms or mull it over. It didn't get picked up that day, but then you go home and you ruminate on it and you start coming up with more of an idea. Like you could just be like, oh, why do we write a song with this title? Like, I don't get it. Well, maybe you just need to do some more thinking, ruminate, let the tortoise mind work, and then get your harebrain into it more. And the next time you present it, you're like, here's my vision, it's this. And then in the room, it may work. Or they just may not get it, but that doesn't mean it's not good. So it's just because somebody passes on it when it's a vague notion, a little baby creature, baby idea, don't take it that it's not good. It might not be any good, but it might be great. And it just needs some more time to mature before it's ready to throw it out in the room. So anyway, a little sidebar there. But anyway, new ideas are like small creatures, right? So they're easily strangled. Let them develop a little bit more before you really bring in that logical mind to really beat them up, not before. And I definitely do that with ideas. Like I generally like to have a good, like locked in, here's what this could be before I bring it into the co-write, because then when we start chopping on it, I don't waste time and it can fight back a little bit. My idea can fight back. He said, here's a good way of telling whether your creative period has done its job and it's time to move on to the logical period. If you find that you had lots of vague new ideas and you're starting to feel a bit overwhelmed and confused by them all, like your head's just swimming with all these different ideas and stuff, that's the moment to start work on clarifying them prior to bringing in your logical thinking to bear. So now you're in a logical critical period. So there's that idea of just that time of the tortoise mind of just creativity, and we're brainstorming and vague notions and you're capturing stuff, but now I'm starting to drown in them. I need to start putting some bones on this thing. And that's when you start going to the logical critical period. And then after a time there, after you're like assessing everything, you put it on maybe your publisher hat. If you're a songwriter, you put it on your publisher hat going, okay, who wants to hear this? Does this make sense for the market? All that stuff. After you do that for a little bit, you're probably starting to start getting bored. And that's a sign that now is the moment to go back into your creative thinking mode again. And so you go backwards and forwards between the creative mode of thinking and the analytical mode of thinking until finally, hopefully you have something that's a bit special. So that back and forth process is called iteration.
Okay.
And he says it's what creative people do all the time. And he goes, that's what I did when I was writing the screenplay for A Fish Called Wanda. And it was a movie from, I guess, the 80s or early 90s. Kevin Kline, him, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Everybody from
Monty Python. Yeah.
Ken.
What do you kill me? Ken? Yeah. And those poor dogs that kept getting killed was hilarious. Anyway, he says, I went through draft after draft using my tortoise mind to come up with ideas and resolve problems, and my harebrain to clarify my thoughts and sort out logical inconsistencies. In the end, it took 13 drafts, but I knew it was worth it because each time the screenplay became that little better. And at the end of the end result was the only writing award I've ever won. So tortoise mind, harebrain, they need each other, which is amazing. That's the only award he's won.
Astonishing. I was just going to say, like, that's the only writing award he's ever won. Like, you gotta be kidding me.
Which also tells you that awards don't make or break your career.
Heck yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you haven't seen every Monty Python movie, if you haven't seen, The Meaning of Life, The Life of Brian,
Mhm.
and
Holy
uh,
Grail.
Holy Grail.
That's mine. That's my favorite. So
It's I still watch that movie today and pick up stuff that I missed. And I can't tell you how many damn times I've seen that movie. I can quote it
yeah.
verbatim. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But you're still like, oh my God, that's so funny. I just got what that was. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
another double entendre that
Mhm.
they had in there that was like so brilliant, and it's just so freaking smart
Yeah.
and funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so I just think it's interesting the concept of the harebrain and the tortoise mind is that the tortoise mind is better when it's really useful when even the problem itself is maybe not very defined. Like
Right.
you have it's very complicated. It's got all these moving parts. You're like, I'm not even sure what the problem is that I need to solve. That's when you kind of let your tortoise mind ruminate on it. Like it's that whole go for a walk. Think about it. Go take a nap. Go to
Yeah.
bed. You might have the idea pop up in the morning or have more clarity on that sort of thing. So it could be
Yeah.
anything from, I got this title and this thing. I'm not sure what it means, but let's just going to kind of, because I do that sometime where I used to think too, like, am I just being lazy here? Because I'm kind of holding this general problem or situation in my mind, but I'm not actively like breaking it down and building it back and taking all the gears out of it and all, looking under the hood and getting grease on my hands. But I'm just kind of, it's there like, here's this thing. And it's kind of there, but I'm not really actively picking it apart. I'm like, and I've wondered before, like, am I just being lazy? Like, I'm thinking about this thing. But I think what
Mhm.
that is letting the tortoise mind do that thing. And you're just kind of, it's there, okay, and letting other parts of my brain do it. Let the tortoise do its thing. To going,
It's
okay,
kind of like when you
subconscious,
keep
go to work on it. you know?
yeah, sometimes when it's in there creatively and you're just thinking about it, what it is in your conscious mind.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so sometimes it's just sitting there, and all of a sudden, as long as it's in your conscious mind, another way I always looked at it was it's like your antennas are up
Mhm.
about that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So now that it's in your conscious mind moving forward, all this other information that you see is also being filtered through that
Mhm. Yeah.
that thing you're trying to solve. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so it's like, is this, hey, hold on a second. Like, like that what just happened there now gives me an idea for this over here. But if
Mhm.
it's not in your conscious mind, you don't see that sign. You don't see that
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
coming
and he talks about that in the book that there's this guy that, like, discovered or whatever, figured out the shape of some particular molecule. So some
in. Mhm.
scientist and was having trouble figuring out the shape of this thing, what it must be shaped like to act the way it does or whatever. And he was at the house and he had a fire going. It was just like staring off into the fire and just kind of pondering and stuff, but he wasn't at his desk writing out. No, he was like just kind of
Yeah.
pondering and looking at the fire and he's following the little flames and he started like, oh, they kind of look like snakes. And then some of them would kind of twirl and he started getting this image of snakes biting their tails and that's a circle. And oh my gosh, that's the shape of the molecule. It's a circle. It was that kind of thing where he was kind of holding his mind. He was kind of thinking about, but he's also just watching the fire and let his mind wander and letting this subconscious, that tortoise start making those connections of
Yeah.
what's there. You made me think too of like when you first fall in love or you have a crush on a girl or guy or whatever, like everything in the world kind of reminds you of them and relates to them in some way because
Yeah. Yeah.
you start filtering everything through that person.
Yep.
And if you're just trying to think of what are all these things that connect to this, yeah, you wouldn't come up with all those. But since they're become kind of the filter, you start catching everything in that filter. And I think it's the same way, whether it's a song idea or some problem you're having in your career or something you're trying to solve. It's like sometimes we just need to let the tortoise out to have some time to work on it. And you're thinking about it. And then other times, then you need to get in with the harebrain and go, okay, let's really get down to nuts and bolts and actively break this sucker apart. It takes both, right? Because I'm sure
Yeah.
after the guy thought about the circle, then he went into harebrain mode and did whatever kind of chemistry or mathematical calculations to kind of prove it and go, is this working? And that's definitely harebrained, where you're focused and you're logical and reasoning and stuff. But he wouldn't have gotten there without the tortoise thing. And Cleese talks about how, you know, the thing about, I think it was, well, we talked about the guy from Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones doing the falling asleep with the key in the pie pan.
Oh,
you know, he'd be on the bed, he'd have a key in his hand over a tin pie plate on the floor, you know, off the edge of the bed. And so when he fall asleep, he'd drop it and it would dink and kind of wake him up enough to kind of be like he'd play something, to be dreamy. Well, apparently, I think some famous inventors have done that before too, like not Graham Bell, but one of the other ones that we think of a lot. But to
Edison?
get in that, Edison, thank you. To get in that kind of dreamy state where the turtle comes out, you know, the tortoise mind comes out a little bit more, to kind of dreamily kind of ruminate on some things, that a different way of some ideas come in. That's where some of those aha moments can come from, when you're letting your subconscious work on it a little bit more. So, you know, I just thought that was super cool, and I need to, like, okay, how can I incorporate both? Because I tend to favor more the logical reasoning side, but it really didn't have a whole lot to work on unless you get the tortoise mind working on some stuff too. You know, it really does take both.
And you got to be afraid or you got to be not afraid to do that. I mean, in the tortoise mind is where you dare to suck.
Yeah.
Right. And the logical brain is where your clarification and
that does suck. Right.
Exactly. But I mean, how many times I can't count how many times what are we up to? 171 episodes now that have published
of Song Title Challenge,
where, you know, somebody's like, okay, this is probably going to suck. And you say something and it does suck, right? It would never work, but it springboards onto something else where it's like, oh, hey, wait a second. What if we did what you just said, but we spun it this way? Now it does work. You know what I mean? And in a really cool way. So it's like a path to doing that. You know, we just talked about Edison, and I think about, I was having this conversation with Mackenzie O'Brien while I was, you know, browbeating her about the head, neck, face, and chest area about social media and how she needs to be doing more of it. You know? And I said, you just have to dare to suck on social media, you know, because it's only through sucking a whole lot that you're going to find something that works.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, you know, really fun. And I was using an example of Edison, and I said, you know, if Thomas Edison approached inventing the light bulb the way all frickin' indie artists approach social media, we'd be in the dark right now.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have light bulbs. We'd still be looking at candles. Why? Because the first one didn't work.
Yeah.
And so, but he made 2,000 that didn't work because he was interested in finding a way to make a light bulb that worked.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the interest. And so you've got to go through that whole, well, what if we try it this way? What if we do it that way? Like, I have no clue how to make 2,000 light bulbs that don't work, but he figured it out, you know? And by the way, was chastised for it after the win, after he comes out with the light bulb that creates General Electric, you know, which is to this day a company that's still a Fortune 500 company, man. You know what I mean? Like, you talk about a legacy that's still around, and the first thing the reporter asks is, I mean, well, how do you feel about, you know, failing 2,000 times to make this light bulb? He's like, I didn't fail. I figured out 2,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Exactly, which is the way to look at it.
Yeah, you got to just kind of go in and play, and that's what we call play in the sandbox.
Yeah,
and
go for it. Seth Godin tells this story, I think it was in one of his books, about the basketball. He says, like, the modern basketball is like the perfect basketball. Perfect for doing what a basketball is supposed to do. He goes, it wasn't that way when we started, you know, when Naismith or whoever, you know, said, let's throw this thing into a peach basket, right? Yep. It was just leather thing. He goes, and over time, they kept improving upon it. They iterated, like Cleese talks about. They iterated. They said, let's try this, let's try that. And that didn't work. That works. And now we have this wonderful basketball. He goes, what if it had just sat in the lab for all these years? You know, if you could go parallel universe, A, B, these, okay, one, it's out in the wild, people are using it, it's getting feedback, it's iterating. And this other parallel universe, it never leaves the lab until, 2024. And they're just trying to design the perfect basketball for this game that's going to be so popular. It'd probably be square. It's like, it wouldn't be as good as it is because it needs all that real world feedback. And I think like for whether social media stuff, it needs that real world feedback. So you can fail in secrecy and then get better and better. But the same for your songs, to write songs, dare to suck, dream, take wild swings at stuff. Some are going to miss, but man, if one hits, that changes everything. But then also, again, use both sides of your brain. I think some people come down really on, well, I just want to be dreamy and all this stuff, and they never get out the harebrained to go, okay, does anyone care about this? Does this work? Well, I don't want to get too analytical because that's not art. Well, John Cleese disagrees with you.
Yeah.
Or other people may just be, it's all analytical. They don't have time for feeling, or, they're just solving puzzles.
Yeah.
And both can work, right? I think, and there are examples, I'm sure, of both that work and are successful. But hey, you got the other side of your brain. You might as well use it. It's coming it's your plus one, whether you feed it or not. So let it out to play. And I think just in general, you're going to be better off for it, especially if you're going for commercial stuff for other people to cut.
Give yourself permission.
Exactly.
To give yourself permission to find 2,000 ways not to write that line. And to get to the line where it's like, oh, that's the undeniable line that I can, a caveman will read this and be like, oh, and get him in the feels,
Yeah.
There's your lyric.
And Cleese talks about when you're being creative, there are no mistakes. It just doesn't exist when you're being creative. And especially I think during the brainstorming process, during that, now later your harebrained, your analyst can come in and go, no, that's vague, or no one's going to say that, or whatever. And they can work that out. Another phrase I've heard before is write drunk, edit sober.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Metaphorically, should you choose?
Yeah, and be like metaphorically intoxicated with the concept and the idea and the grandiose and the illusion of what it could be.
Right.
Be intoxicated with that, like a little kid, like dream.
Uninhibited, right? Intoxication is uninhibited. Like you'll say stuff that you wouldn't have said sober, but it's what you meant, but you would have known better, right? So it's that kind of thing, of letting go of your inhibitions and just taking wild swings. And then later you can edit and go, put on your publisher hat and be like, no, that's not the thing. Or, wow, that's really great. But let's just sand it down a little bit, polish it up, turn it this color a little bit more. And we got something special that people can respond to. So anyway, thank you so much, Joe.
I want to add one more thing real quick. Like I remember a speech that John Cleese gave prior to this book. And you had mentioned about not getting out of the turtle brain too quickly, And one of the speeches he talked about was like in the context of the troupe that was Monty Python, the writing troupe that was Monty Python. And he was like, one of the guys in there was always like, the way he described it in the speech was like always in a hurry just to, okay, we've got something that'll work. Now let's move forward. So he's like leaning too far, too much, too soon towards the harebrain away from the turtle brain. And John's like, no, let's just stay over here a little longer to see if we can beat it. I think we can do better, And he goes, as a result of my approach of not going to the harebrain too soon, spending more time in the turtle brain, way more of my stuff got into the show than his stuff, because it was like, okay, well, I don't want to write a line just for the sake of having a line and having it done for the sake of completion. I want it to do something. I want it to be really, really funny. And that's funny, but could it be better? Like, what can we beat it? Can we beat that line? And, I again, Mackenzie was in town this week, and her and Steve O'Brien got together and wrote this like really great song. It's a real recountation of something that goes on with her, right? And I know this is like this ongoing drama. I don't want to give the story of the song away, and I know about the person that she's writing about. I know exactly what the story is, and they bring me into the room and like, hey, just want you to hear it and see what you think, and I'm listening to it, and then I'm just looking at the second verse, and I'm like, I know so much about this story that you're writing this song about, and I'm looking at the lyrics and all this stuff works, but I feel like we can beat this, I feel like there's more of a story to tell in here, and I don't know which way you want to go with that. Is it like how you feel, like how this person makes you feel when this happens, or is it just furniture? Like, here's some other stuff that she's done because it's just so crazy, right? And the person the story is about, and what goes on, it's just so fantastical. Like, we can be more specific, and I don't care that, and I don't think you care that when this person hears this song, they're going to know it's about them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's wild, So what if we, it's that, and just kind of push them back into the turtle brain a little bit, and they're both like, okay, all right. So now they've made another appointment to Zoom to kind of go a little bit deeper there, because it's like, yeah, we got a song. It's done. It's good. Yeah. It's cool. It's got attitude. It's got edge. It's everything that I wanted for her, and everything she wanted for herself, I believe. But we can beat that. You know what I mean? And so, stay in that turtle brain a little bit longer. Anyway.
Yeah, go back to the turtle brain. Like, so they did the turtle brain. Here's the idea. Here's the concept. And they start putting it together. They just some harebrain. You put in your harebrained ideas. And then now they're going to go back tortoise mind again and come up with some other great stuff, and then go look at it and bounce back and forth. And that's how you iterate. So,
yeah, that's it, man.
Awesome. Sunday Joe, thank you so much for turning me on to that book. I enjoyed it. It helped me get home on 20-something hours of no sleep. So thank you for that. But also, thank you for everyone listening. I have a gift, just a way to say thank you. It's 6 simple ways to make your songs more commercial. So it's when you get to that harebrain into it and start going, let's dial this in so it can be more commercial and hopefully, make us some money. And you can find that at 6, this is the number 6, simpleways.songwritingpro.com. That's 6.simpleways.songwritingpro.com, or you can just go to songwritingpro.com, and it's pretty easy to find. But it's my gift to you. Just tell me where to send it. We email it to you, and you get all the good stuff there. So that's what I got.
Killer. Well, that brings us to the end of another Killer Climb episode. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.